Why in the hell does Ezekiel Elliott run the football 16 times? How could Jason Garrett and his staff possibly excuse that? You know what? You got to accept who you are. Your receivers ain't that great. Your passing game ain't that great. Dak Prescott in like 9 of the last 10 games hasn't even thrown for 200 yards. Okay? Yeah. This is embarrassing.
The last 5.
This is embarrassing. The last 5 consecutive. This is embarrassing, all right? Ezekiel Elliott is the engine that stirs that cup on the offensive side of the ball. I'm no fan of Jason Garrett. I think he should have been gone. I'm no fan of Scott Linehan. I think he should have been gone. Stephen Jones has gotten on my last damn nerves because he convinced his daddy to get rid of Dez Bryant. They need to apologize to Dez Bryant and go knock on his front door and say, we made a mistake. Could you come back? As far as I'm concerned, the Dallas Cowboys, they don't have a number 1 receiver. They don't even have a number 2 receiver. Where the hell is Allen Hurns? This guy that was supposed to replace Dez Bryant. I don't think that he has been targeted. I don't think he's been targeted 10 times this year. 10 times. Okay? So when I look at the Dallas Cowboys, this is not even about your defense. This is about an offense that is anemic and, by the way, clueless. Because somehow, some way, you can't figure out to get Ezekiel Elliott the damn ball. In 2 of the 3 games, he has had less than 20 carries. It makes no sense whatsoever. You know what the brother can do. He's gone out there and he's done it. You give him the ball more when all else fails, especially since you've proven to be incompetent in every other area offensively. You give Ezekiel Elliott the damn ball. Outside of that, you suck it up. You suck up your pride, and you either place a phone call or go to Dez Bryant's house and say, yo, we made a mistake because we don't think you're a number 1, but damn it, we don't even have a number 2. We need you back here.
You're right about this. They don't have any threats on the outside. They don't have a good receiving core. Their offensive line is also not what it was. And Will and I were talking about this the other day after the show. I mentioned Warren Sharp the other day, does analysis, and you can follow him on Twitter. He's an excellent follow. The fact of the matter is they built around a running back. And if you look at the great teams in recent years, that's not how it works. You can take a great running back. I mean, Todd Gurley, you look at the Giants with Saquon Barkley. That doesn't mean you build your whole offense around it. The teams that advance in the playoffs, you know, the Falcons in recent years, obviously the Patriots every year, the Steelers in recent years, Green Bay when they got there. It's all because they're sending wideouts all over the place, and it's the passing game. They're forcing you to try to match up one-on-one and beat you with athletes. Like the spread-out offenses and the passing game is what's getting it done. And the Dallas Cowboys have a regressive kind of offense. But now they're doing it without great run blocking. Forget about the pass protection. It's not there nearly to the extent that it has been. And you don't have the receivers. On top of that, you don't have coaching that's coming up with these brilliant kind of complex game plans to get the most out of the receivers you have. The Cowboys just aren't very good.
Okay, first of all, I disagree with you, Max, on your overall philosophy. I think there's an argument to be made that you zig while everybody else zags. But hold on for just a second, just for this game. The question is it time to admit the Cowboys are no good? Here's the thing. The Cowboys are not good enough. They're not good enough to overcome 2 batted balls that end up in interceptions by one of the, if not the best safety in the entire game that was wearing the wrong jersey yesterday. If there were any sense of going to get it, if there were any sense of grasping your moment, Earl Thomas would have been bowing to the Seahawks sideline while wearing a star on his helmet. The Cowboys aren't good enough to overcome the new you can't touch the passer rule because we talked about the Clay Matthews hit, but it happened in the Cowboys game as well. Tyrone Crawford fell with his body weight on Russell Wilson and extended a drive early in the game for the Seahawks. They're not good enough to overcome Randy Gregory's boneheaded punch a player in the face right when the clock's winding down at the end of the second quarter to give the Seahawks a free 3 points. They're not good enough for blown coverages in the safety, in the defensive backfield, from the safety position to give Russell Wilson 2 wide open touchdowns. And they're not good enough for their star player, and yes, I agree, Stephen A., 16 carries isn't enough, but they're not good enough for Zeke Elliott to step out of bounds before he catches a touchdown pass. They're not good enough for Zeke Elliott to fumble at the end of an awesome run. They're not good enough for Zeke Elliott to drop wide open passes. Quite honestly, Zeke Elliott, as great as he was, wasn't good enough yesterday. The bottom line is they're ill-prepared, undisciplined, and yes, they have a bad offensive scheme. They are poorly coached. That's the overarching, not good enough aspect of this team.
Cole Beasley, Will, I hear you. They are poorly coached. Cole Beasley is the third best receiver on a great, team with wideouts with a real passing game. The second best one on a solid one. He is your best receiver. You don't have a receiving core. Your offensive line through which the team was built is not the same as it was. What are we talking about here? You have one win this season against a hapless Giants team with a brand new offensive line, and everyone knows you get that team early in the season before the O-line plays together. Just not a very good team.
Yeah, but the flip side to it, Max, is that we weren't saying these things about it last year or the year before. The last 2 years, we were looking at Dallas's defense. We had no problems with the offensive line. Now, I understand that it's not what it used to be, but it ain't god-awful compared to some of the more horrific offensive lines in the game of football. Otherwise, Ezekiel Elliott wouldn't be able to do what he's been able to do in 2 of the 3 games. The fact is, play calling has been suspect. Personnel and everything but the running back spot has been highly suspect, which brings me to Stephen Jones. I look at this guy like Stephen Jones, and here's what really rakes my nerves. And Will, I'll get on you about this because sometimes you get a bit sanctimonious in this regard. We talk about individuals in terms of how they act or whatever, and I just want you to know that I'm very popular for saying this. Well, if you're a coach and you can't handle that, why bother? Who needs you, meaning a coach? The fact of the matter is you can't have a bunch of choir boys. You can't have a bunch of people that toe the line and do everything right. Sometimes guys are headaches. Sometimes they could even be a bit cancerous. But it's your job, since you're the coach and you're not somebody that's actually on the field playing, to find a way to deal with it in the best situation, in the best way imaginable, to ensure that the best talent possible is on the field for you. And I think what we've seen in the Dallas Cowboys organization is them alienate some of the individuals who have been a bit problematic as opposed to dealing with it to ensure that you have the best personnel on the field.